rounding third with home plate in sight. But even the best players need a coach to wave them in. Safe! Welcome to Perfect Game Retirement, hosted by Ryan Ledden, former pro baseball player, University of Georgia economics graduate, and now certified financial planner with Black Oak Asset Management. He's here to guide you through the final stretch and help you slide safely into a winning retirement. Play ball!
Hello, welcome in. This is Perfect Game Retirement. Glad to have you with us as we talk financial planning, retirement planning, and we do that every week with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. He is a president there, also a certified financial planner. You can find everything online at retireperfect.com. And today's show is going to be a good one. We're all guilty of having biases, right? And there's some big cognitive biases that can really affect how you plan and the decisions you make within your financial life. So we want to talk to some of those. Make sure you're aware of maybe some of the biases you might be carrying as well. And then we'll open up the mailbag, answer your questions that have been sent in to us as well. But Ryan, welcome in. I know it's the end of July already. Hard to believe we're turning the page to August, but how are you getting through these dog days of summer?
So far, it's been okay. It's kind of a split family as far as where one kid's at. Usually one parent is with, and usually I'm with my daughter a little bit more with her travel softball, because I guess my role with them is more needed as opposed to track, where I'm more of a spectator for my son. And obviously I don't know the first thing about track because I never ran track a day in my life. So my knowledge base is very little, but I hope to get out to see him at his national meet, which I was able to go out to his regional meet. I flew home from Colorado for 2 days and then flew back to Colorado to get back with my daughter. But I wanted to see him run. So hopefully I can do that again with my son in his event that's going on. And we're handling it as best we can. Again, I think I handle it maybe a little bit better than my wife. She doesn't like all the chaos, but I look at it as a blessing, and it really is. Yeah,
and school will be starting back soon, then also football season right behind it. So fun time of the year, but we got to get through the heat. I know August is maybe one of the slower months of the year around here, but still a lot to talk about, and we'll get into some of that stuff today. But we appreciate you joining us here on the show. If you haven't been here before, thanks for being here. Remember the website, retireperfect.com, because you can schedule a time right now to meet with Ryan. You can pick out a time that works for you to have that complimentary consultation, 15, 20-minute call to kind of talk through your financial situation, your picture, see where you want to go, give Ryan and the team of Black Oak Asset Management an opportunity to learn more about you. But you could do that at retireperfect.com. Also, you have an opportunity to get Ryan's book there as well, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on today in the show. But as I mentioned, I wanted to kind of get into some of the biases, because there are a lot of cognitive biases that rear their head in financial planning. I know emotion is a big part of the decision-making, Ryan, and I know a lot of times these are things that you have to be aware of and help people work through, don't you?
Yes, very much so. Very much so that it's a whole section on the CFP exam. There's several questions on the CFP exam that have to do with cognitive biases. So it's under the behavior section of the exam. Not that it's sectioned out, but there's a certain amount of questions that come from different sections of the CFP exam, and there's a bunch of different cognitive biases. So we're not going to cover them all today. It's impossible to. But some of the main ones that we'll cover, but it is 100% a thing. And usually I can get a good read on it really quick when people do express one of these.
All right, let's start off with the self-serving bias. So this is the one where when you have failures, you think, okay, this is situational. But when you have success, hey, this was all on me. I think a lot of people think this way when investing, right?
They do. And some people will admit that maybe they got lucky. I know one of my clients specifically is jumping out, and they happen to pick a stock way back in the day, and it's done really well. And he's like, yeah, that was luck. And so there's not always self-serving bias, but usually there is. If it didn't go well, it's more like circumstantial, or like you said, it's been a bad market, but then it's easy because we want to think of ourselves as smart individuals for the most part, and if it goes well, it's kind of what we did, not necessarily what's going on elsewhere, but it's more of a self-serving, like, hey, look at me, and then, hey, it didn't happen, but here's why. It's easy to justify that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it can be very difficult there too. And I know this one probably has a lot of impact in the way you think about your approach to finances. And the next one is kind of similar, but I want you to explain this a little bit because I don't think you hear about this one a lot. But the curse of knowledge. So the idea is, once we know something, we assume that everyone else knows it as well. And I think this is, we live this in our daily lives in many different ways. And I'm sure you can probably see this as a financial advisor. I'm sure there's a lot of things that you run into where you just assume somebody else knows because you see it day in, day out.
Yes, I am 100% guilty of this. And I have to remember that either someone could be listening or hearing this for the first time. And I remember going to an event where Dave Ramsey brought in a few advisors from around the country. And he's like, think about how many times I repeat myself. I mean, over and over and over again. His big things obviously are the baby steps, but you hear people repeat. And again, it could be someone listening for the first time. So a lot of times I may say something, be like, oh man, people already know this. Why am I saying this? And so I'm guilty of it. I have to continue to repeat it. Even if people know some certain things that if I repeat it and say it again, they're like, oh yeah, that's right. So, some facts, because this is what I do every day. It may seem basic and obvious to me, but I have to take a step back and I don't fix cars. I don't build houses. And so someone who does those things are like, yeah, stupid. It's, you do this. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that because I don't do this every single day. So I have to remember that. And because it's second nature to me, but again, that's why we take that teacher/coach approach that, when I coach my kids and their teams, a lot of times it's, hey, I've already told you this before. Hey, when you're hitting, your hands need to do this or whatever it may be, but you have to repeat that and repeat that and repeat that. And therefore, if you fail to continue to educate and remind, I mean, that's what I did as a teacher. I'd teach the content, then we go back and review it and, have a midterm exam or a final exam, have to go back and review it. So I constantly have to remember that. So the curse of knowledge, that's a real thing. And I have to continue to remember that, hey, again, like I said before, this may be the first time somebody's listening to this or hearing it.
Yeah, if you want to kind of get a better idea of how Ryan and the team at Black Oak Asset Management help coach their clients, you can schedule that free consultation right now at retireperfect.com. Again, retireperfect.com. Find a time that works for you and go ahead and get on this calendar, and you can begin learning more about that. And on the flip side, let him begin learning more about you and kind of where you stand with things. But go to retireperfect.com to take advantage of that. We're talking about some of the cognitive biases that people face in financial planning here on Perfect Game Retirement. Let's talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. You might not know this one by its technical term, but this is the less you know, the more confident you are, and the more you know, the less confident you are. We see this. We probably know somebody that fits this pretty closely in our everyday lives, Ryan. But how does this impact your financial life?
Oh, yes. I think everybody does. But so, yeah, I mean, knowing it by the name, most people probably don't know. But, yeah, so it's kind of, rookie investors can sometimes learn just enough to think that they know everything that they need to know. Maybe they read one article. Maybe they saw one online social media post on TikTok or read an article in Kiplinger's or, not knocking any one of those things, but, they hear one thing and they think, oh, yeah, that applies to me. And then they move ahead and invest or, do whatever with a lot more confidence than they probably actually should, because anyone can post on social media. Now, obviously, I mentioned some magazines or online articles. So certain places have to have a little bit of validity to them, if you will. But just because it's out there, on social media or on the internet doesn't mean it's right for you. So some people may have a little bit more, again, confidence just because they heard one person say it. But I'll have clients even go, hey, I saw this, and they'll send me the link of someone on TikTok, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but that doesn't apply to your situation at all. They're talking about this and you're doing this. So again, more seasoned investors know enough to know what they don't know. And that's generally the client base that we have. They're smart people. Yeah, they know investing, but they're not, like, you know what, I need someone in my corner to make sure I'm not messing this up, or looking for opportunities that, may not be a fit for me, but maybe you're looking out for my best interests, and you see an avenue that I didn't even know about. So that's usually the more of the people that we work with are the ones that are more seasoned, but they know they need help.
Yeah, I think we see this play itself out in social media quite a bit, right? The loud ones are the ones that don't know as much, it seems like. And look, along those same lines, this next one kind of falls into that, right? Naive realism. So we believe that we observe objective reality, but other people are irrational, uninformed, or biased. So we know this happens every day online, but how does this also apply to things that you're seeing every day in your line of work?
Yeah, I mean, most people think they are purely logical in their decision making when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, my gosh, again, most people know, if they've been listening to me for a while, I don't like politics at all. But oh my gosh, you could go down that rabbit hole. Everyone thinks that they're they're logical in all their decision making when it comes to their political views and all that. But I'm more now. Do politics trickle over into what I do from a taxation standpoint? I mean, we've seen this in the news lately with our tax code kind of moving forward. I mean, sure, that stuff spills over, but most people do want to justify their decision making when it comes to their finances and their money. And sometimes I need to poke holes in it. I need to say, well, what about this? Or a lot of times I ask them on the front end, is there a strategy or something you just don't want to do, or a certain investment you don't want to do? And I like to hear what they have to say, because sometimes they're misinformed. They may not know. They may say something and be like, well, I heard so-and-so say this. I'm like, well, that's true in this regard, but that has nothing to do with this. Or so, yeah, I do have people, of course, people look up AI stuff and all that all the time. And a lot of times I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a factual statement. That doesn't pertain to you. That's not your situation. So people think they're purely logical all the time in their decision making. So sometimes they're blind to the areas that they're acting in, whether that's emotional or irrational. But again, that's why we're in their corner, to help them out and talk about the pros and cons of each strategy.
All right, let's talk about one more bias, and I think this is one that a lot of people will relate to, but it's confirmation bias. So we tend to find and remember information that confirms our perceptions, and this happens so often with our financial decisions, Ryan, right? We look for that information that really solidifies what we're thinking.
Yeah. Oh, this happens all the time. This is, I think this was an actual test question on my CFP exam, is the confirmation bias. So yeah, again, I mentioned politics in my last response, and same thing. A lot of people, if you believe a certain way, you're going to watch certain channels and be like, oh yeah, that's right, because that's what you believe. So a lot of that spills over into the financial world, because there's a lot of social media presence for individuals. I try to look at the whole picture and give my pros and cons and my views on it, especially with my views on the experience of people that I work with for years and years and years. So that's what's fun about my job, is everybody's situation is different. Their needs, their wants, their goals, their amounts of money that they have to create income. That's the fun part. It's different for everybody. So a lot of people do want to search out and find things that kind of reconfirms what they have, but a lot of times we have another point of view. We're okay if it's a good fit at what you're trying to do, but at the same time, we may say, hey, have you thought of this though? So we do try to poke holes in a confirmation bias. Sometimes it's the right fit, but a lot of times we want to say, hey, there's no like good or bad strategy. It's just like, what is the right fit? So that may not be the right fit for you, but this strategy over here is the right fit. Even though you've heard, quote unquote, it's bad, there's usually not a bad strategy out there. It's just what's a fit.
Well, if you maybe think you've fallen to one of these biases at some point in your decision making, the best thing you can do is have someone that can kind of help keep you in check and at least make sure that, hey, you're on the right track. Maybe you're looking at this from a biased perspective, but that's what someone like Ryan does at Black Oak Asset Management. As a certified financial planner, he can help you with that. And you begin talking with him by scheduling a free consultation. Just go to retireperfect.com. We set up that website to make it easy for you to schedule a time to book with Ryan. And we want anyone that has questions or wants to have a conversation, wants to begin that retirement planning process, the opportunity to have that conversation. And we do that by setting up retireperfect.com. Go there. You'll see the button, free consultation. Click that. Pick a time that works for you, and you can be off and running. Because, look, Ryan, we're all kind of guilty of these biases, and there's other ones out there too. So maybe if you think, oh, I'm immune from these, I don't have to worry about any of these, there's probably something else you fall biased to. But that's why someone like yourself can really help someone in that retirement planning process.
Yeah, because it goes back to, again, people don't know what they don't know. I don't know what I don't know. So this is what we do day in and day out, and it's the lane we live in and we chose to be in. And so again, I know people can look up certain things or Google search this or AI this, but a lot of times that doesn't actually pertain to what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. So we try to listen a lot on the front end. Listen, hear where people are coming from. It's not about us, spilling out how much information that we know. Because there is a lot of information that we know, but we want to hear where people are coming from and then come up with a plan and a strategy that works cohesively.
All right, again, go to retireperfect.com to begin that process with Ryan at Black Oak Asset Management. They have offices in Alpharetta and Macon and Lawrenceville as well, but also can work with you virtually if it's easiest to hop on Zoom and have a conversation that way. But it all begins at retireperfect.com. We're going to open up the mailbag, answer your questions next, so stay with us right here on Perfect Game Retirement.
The pitcher has only got a ball. I've got a bat. That's Hank Aaron's way of saying take control. And now it's your turn to take control of your financial future. Work with Ryan Ledden, certified financial planner and former pro baseball player, to create a game-winning retirement strategy. Schedule your complimentary visit today by visiting retireperfect.com from your smartphone or computer. That's retireperfect.com.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The first step toward your financial goals can feel monumental, but with the right guidance, your financial moon landing is within reach. Stay tuned for more insight.
Thanks for being here with us on Perfect Game Retirement with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. He is president and certified financial planner, also a financial coach. You can get in touch at retireperfect.com. While you're there at retireperfect.com, please take advantage of the book that Ryan's written, Diffuse the Retirement Threats. All you have to do is click the link there to get the toolkit in the book. Enter in a little bit of information. Ryan will get it out to you, Ryan. But this book, again, a lot of great information. The goal, again, to educate and inform people that are looking to learn more as they prepare for retirement.
Yeah, we're proud of this book. Again, we share stories because that's usually how people connect to their lives. Obviously, we keep names out of the book, but we tell stories and talk about that. So hopefully there's some relatability to your situation, maybe a little bit different, but it's like, okay, that kind of fits where I'm at. But, not every chapter may be specific to you, but in general, most of these chapters are going to apply to you in some way. And we like to tell stories to connect it, and then we give you how-to steps at the end. So we're more than happy to send that out. We just need your information to send it out to you. There's some other PDF, nice kind of bounded pieces that we put inside that kit as well. So it's a lot of information that we want to provide and knowledge base to help people out. So we're super proud of it, and we've had a lot of requests for it. So just request that, and we'll get a notification, and we'll send it out to you.
Yeah. So Diffuse the Retirement Threats. Get that right now at retireperfect.com. Also, another book coming as well. This one geared more towards federal employees, right? Tell us what's coming.
Yeah, so obviously there's been a lot of news headlines of federal employees and the Trump administration and a lot of things just going on with federal employees. So
right.
Myself and Nick Morgan, who's one of our advisors in Macon, he's done a lot of work with federal employees, as have I. So we thought it was a good opportunity to come out with a book. So it hasn't hit Amazon yet, and we haven't put it on the website yet, but it was just approved. So we're going through that process because, we live in a compliance world. So we got everything compliance approved. So hopefully the book will be available on Amazon, as well as a kit that you can request, just like the diffuse the retirement threats as well. But this one's called the Federal Retirement Code. So it has a lot of federal employee information, whether, you're on certain types of pensions out there, whether it's the FERS or, you got your TSP, and there's just a lot of good content in here for federal employees. So that will be keep a ear out for that. We'll be keeping updates on that, but it has been approved, so we're just going through that process of getting it printed.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you want to go ahead and get in touch with Ryan and maybe, just let him know you want to get that when it comes out, go to retireperfect.com. Also, just keep an eye out there. We'll probably put some information there once it's available. But again, right now you can take advantage of diffuse the retirement threats and preparing yourself for retirement. You can order that right now on the website, retireperfect.com. All right, let's jump into the mailbag. We always appreciate your feedback. Love when you get in touch, and we have a few questions that came in that I wanted to bring on the show and ask you here, Ryan. We'll start off with one from Rick, who comes from us from Union City, and he says, I'm 66. I just retired. I have about $500,000 in a 401k, $220,000 in a Roth IRA, and $75,000 in a savings account. So all told, about $800,000. Which account should I start withdrawing from first?
So great question, Rick. It does depend. And then this is where the planning part comes into play, because you may read articles that say, oh, you got to, pull from your taxable accounts first, and then your IRA next, and then your Roth last. Well, I disagree with that. I think it depends. Because you want to navigate the tax code as efficiently as possible. So what Social Security incomes do we have? What pension incomes do we have? What tax bracket are we in? So Rick, that's great. You have 3 different types of accounts that are taxed differently. So you have some tax flexibility. A lot of people do not. Most people are heavy in the pre-tax 401k, maybe a little bit in Roth or whatever, but you have some flexibility when it comes to it. So a lot of it depends, because, you have a savings account, which is technically called a taxable account. So, it depends on, I know you said savings account, but maybe some of that's invested. So if you have capital gains tax, if you're in a certain federal income tax bracket, it makes those capital gains tax either zero, but less than what your federal tax rate is. So a lot of navigation. That is a rabbit hole of information I could give, but Rick, it depends. So if you want to schedule a call, be happy to do that and kind of take you through that process. But those of you who are listening, if you have different taxable accounts, that's great, but it really does depend, because we want to take advantage of the tax code of how it's been laid out for us. So pulling from different accounts means probably pulling them from different times.
All right, great question. And I know it's not a very simple decision to make, so you need to make sure you have a plan for that. And again, that's where a certified financial planner comes in. So if you have questions for Ryan or want to just kind of go through that process of building out that income plan, go to retireperfect.com and begin by scheduling your free consultation. All right, Jean is next. She's in Roswell. She says, how should I go about planning for healthcare expenses in retirement? I plan to retire next year at 62 and don't know what I need to do for healthcare yet.
Well, a lot of that depends on your current employer. Sometimes people work for an employer where maybe that healthcare continues on. That's usually a lot of government type jobs, but in your case, that may not be the case. So you want to kind of be aware of kind of going on the healthcare kind of open exchange, if you will, if you need to bridge that gap between 62 and 65. Now, if you do want to go on COBRA, you can be on COBRA for 18 months. So that could get you really close to retirement. So a lot of times where people retire, if they want to retire early and they're about at your age, sometimes we say if that's a big enough pressing issue and you continue to like your job, then maybe it means to go to 63 and a half, because that COBRA can take you for 18 months to 65. So just something to think about. I'm not telling you to continue on to work, but just kind of be aware of what your costs are going to be. And you can kind of find that out on the open exchange to be able to find what a policy would be just for you. For the next 3 years, and then obviously Medicare kicks in after that. So just being aware of it. I'm not telling you to continue to work just to have health insurance, but you want to make sure it's not a sticker shock to you either by buying it on the open exchange at your age.
Yeah, and this is a big thing that you have to address if you plan on retiring a little bit early, right, Ryan? I mean, this expense can catch some people off guard.
It can, because a lot of it's means tested as far as like what your taxable income is going to be. And so if we can, pull from certain accounts that aren't going to trigger, ordinary income tax, then, you may look like you're in a pretty low tax bracket. So your premiums may not be that high. So there's some navigation there. There is. We don't sell health insurance policies or anything. That's that's one area. Now we help people out with Medicare, but the health insurance piece, we have a good person that we refer people out to if they need help with that. But yeah, it's being aware and just knowing what those premiums are based off of.
All right, one last question on today's show here, Perfect Game Retirement. We appreciate everybody's feedback and questions, and anything that you're curious about, please send it in, retireperfect.com. But Teresa's in Morrow. She says, how can my husband and I get on the same page financially? I'm more of a saver. He's more of a spender, but ultimately our financial goals for retirement are similar. I just don't know how to get from here to there.
That's a tougher one, Teresa, because that's good that your end goal is the same, but getting there, you both have to have some common ground when it comes to that. So maybe that's working with a financial coach through the Ramsey Group, or taking his Financial Peace University class. That can certainly help out as well. I know it's helped out a lot of couples. So, but getting that kind of saver spender on the same page is difficult. You have to have a lot of communication when it comes to that. Again, it's good that your ultimate goal is the same, but if one of you is swimming upstream, it's very difficult to do. But we can help people out with that. But sometimes that's a process that you have to go through. And again, that I've taught FPU for years and years and years, and it's helped a lot of people out, because there usually is a spender and a saver in every couple. Not always, but usually. And to work through that. So it's a give and take from both sides, but you definitely need to get on the same page to ultimately get to where you want to go.
All right, great questions. And again, if you have anything on your mind, any questions like these, this is a perfect reason why you want to reach out to Ryan at Black Oak Asset Management and begin talking. Have these conversations. It starts at retireperfect.com. You can schedule a free consultation, 15 to 20 minutes, right, Ryan? I know, these are some of the questions that might come up, but you're looking to learn more about, what people are interested in, what their challenges are, where they want to be in retirement.
Yeah, and it starts usually with an initial conversation. Again, 15 to 20 minutes usually is the beginner kind of high level 10,000 foot view phone call, and to see if there is a need or a fit there. And you can usually tell a lot with a 15 to 20 minute phone call. Then it's usually we set up a meeting after that in person, or a Zoom or a phone call to get more into the specifics. And then it's usually after that meeting is when people decide to either move forward or not. So we want to get as much information as we can on that kind of first in-person meeting. The lengthier meeting, the initial is a high level, but after that is when we get more specifics, and then kind of lay out how we work with people, how we get paid. Yes, you should ask how we work with people, and how we're compensated. That way it's up front, and and you can make a decision based off of that on how we work with people. So it's a process, but we take people through the same process every single time. Now, if we get a referral from an existing client, sometimes that's teed up a little bit more, if you will, and some of those steps may go through a little bit quicker. But if it's someone who's a complete stranger to us and vice versa, then we take it slow with them.
All right, well, it all starts at retireperfect.com. We want to give you the opportunity to meet with Ryan, and we do that right there. Just visit the website, click on the free consultation link, and you'll be off and running. But also take advantage of the book as well that we offer here, and then the retirement toolkit that goes along with it, Diffuse the Retirement Threats. You'll find that there at retireperfect.com as well. Well, we appreciate you being a part of another episode of Perfect Game Retirement. Ryan, we thank you for your time. As always, looking forward to catching up with you again next week. And we'll also look forward to talking to you as well. So thanks for listening. Take care. Have a good week.
Information provided is for